Hello, Serge here for the backyard. In my backyard driving range. I have another question from the webinar, and this comes to us from Mark Ramsey, and he says, Serge and DJ, I love what you both do. I don't miss a daily video, and I follow DJ every week when he plays. Guys, can you revisit the setup from the waist up? I was the guy whose hands were too far forward with the shaft tilt that was way too steep. I watched Serge cover this in a video before my men's league match in Maine against a 10 handicap player. I'm a 23 handicap. When I stiffened my left arm to reduce the shaft lean and paid attention to keeping my right arm pointed at 12 o'clock, it worked with this on the range for 15 minutes prior to my match. I worked out the problem of pulling everything left to beat my opponent handily. In a 9-hole match, I was +1 in par 2 holes, both par 3s with lasers to the green. Please take us through the setup and the peak performance swing from the waist up. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm a Sergeite for life. Best wishes, Mark. Well, that's certainly great to hear, Mark. The thing I really liked about it all was where you said you went to the range and it took you 15 minutes to get it down. Because we say that this is the easiest golf swing to learn. It's the most body friendly and easiest to learn. And I have 0 failure rate. Everybody I've taught gets better. And they get better right from the first lesson. There's no 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year learning cycle here. You get better immediately, and therefore once you have this simple swing down, it's hopefully your practice, or most likely your practice, will be more maintaining it than having to rebuild it or rework it. I've had many tour players that I taught and good amateurs that I taught, especially the tour guys, that they used to love this swing because they could finally take a day off, or I should say a week off or so, and they wouldn't have to come back and spend hours and hours and hours refining their golf swing. They just go back in 5 or 10 minutes they hit it pure. So that's a big issue and a big, I think, proof of that this is definitely a simple golf swing. The setup is simple and the swing is simple. And so, as you know, my #1 statement is the setup determines the motion. So that's why I'm very happy to tell you about the setup, because again, the setup determines the motion. You were only interested about the waist up. Well, I think the simplest way that I can describe a golf swing, and when I first started, I used to have like a four-step system, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and that just got too unnatural to like walk it through. And I finally figured out one day from watching baseball players run out to the field and get into their posture, or tennis players just get in there and just get down into their athletic position, the ones waiting to have the ball served to them to hit it back, they just go down. And I developed what I call the accordion effect. The accordion effect is a system where once you walk up to the ball, and I'll do it from this position over here with this ball here. Once you walk into the ball and you take your routine to walk in and make your H and get your alignment, and I always walk in and I get my foot just behind the ball, and I get where pretty close. It's about the exact distance it's going to be, because how do I know that? I'm just going to bend over a little bit and put the club down and drop my arm straight down with it kind of just right underneath my chin to my mouth, and no farther out than my nose. And basically this is the same setup with every club in the bag. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to separate my feet and get into a posture, and then I normally stand up a little bit, and then I go down again doing the accordion. The accordion means that my knees and my shoulders both go down together, which squeezes out my hips. That's the key. It creates the counterbalance in the body. If you tend to just go down with your shoulders, notice my knees went backwards and straightened up. If I walk in and I bend my knees too much, the tendency when you bend your knees too much, your hips come in and your shoulders go back. And so I see a lot of people, they walk into a ball like this, and then they come up here and they stand there and they go like this and they bend their knees. Well, notice the shoulders went up. You see them just as much go over too much like this, or they put the club down and then they bend over more, and that straightens the knees up. So we have to have the harmony of them going down together, and both going down, they compress or squeeze, which I call the accordion effect, the hips outward. And once you get into the proper arm hang with the hands, say somewhere below the chin to the mouth from the lead knuckle straight up, and you're in that posture, you want your weight to be dead straight in the middle of your arches. Equal pressure on the back of the ball pad and the front of the heel pad. So you're in your arches, that athletically ready position. You're not on your toes. You should not be able to tap your heels. Neither should you be able to tap your balls or your toes. Because if you can tap either one, that means the weight's the opposite. If I can tap my toes, that means my weight's back on my heels. If I can tap my heels, the weight's too far forward. You want to have the balls of your feet and in your arches from the balls to just about your heel, your ankle, that's where the weight is. Right in that area, right in that arch or groove of your foot, straight there. And you're there, the accordion effect, and then you can stand there and hit the shots exactly where you want. And the beauty of the accordion effect is it is the best way to get into uphill and downhill lies, especially downhill. Because if you had say I got this club is really short right now because I'm going to make it short like as if the ball was severely below my feet. I can walk in and address my ball and get up here pretty good, and then to go back down to the ball. You notice I'm going down together. I'm not going to go down shoulders, which straightens the legs, or I'm not going to go down all legs, which raises the back away from the ball. I'm going to go down together. Now this seems like an awful lot of knee flexing there and else, but for this downhill lie, I can still make a good swing and maintain my balance. So that's the key. So again, get the club down. I always stand up a little bit, accordion, and then let it rip. All right, so hopefully that gives you a good idea of what happens from the waist up, but I'm really going to say this really happens from the ground up. But I know you're looking for the waist, but the whole body has to be in that dynamic balance at address, and you get that through the accordion effect. Knees and shoulders go down together, squeeze the hips out, and you're in dynamic balance, and that's where you hit the ball more solid straight and longer, so you can shoot those lower scores. Well, that's it for the search for today on setup, and I'll be talking to y'all again soon.